Welcome back, crew. We have another guide for you today. This one's exciting. It is Doffy into Boa. Boa is a lot different to what we've seen in the other guides we've done so far, because Boa is more of a mid-range deck that can get a lot of bodies on the board, almost to an aggro style. I wouldn't call it aggro, but it does put a lot of pressure on our deck, so we do need to approach this matchup differently. We'll go through everything we need to know about this matchup. Let's jump in. Alright, so I miss this almost every video. I mention the matchup data, and here's the data that I'm referring to. I finally got it out. There it is in some of my older videos, but here it is anyway. So if we look at this, this is data was established from the East early on in their format. All quite competitive games, and there was like 2,000 games analyzed. Here is the Doffy matchups in this, and as you can see down here, number 5, we've got blue-yellow Hancock. So we've got a overall 50% win rate into this deck. Going first, we're at 44.4% win. Going second, we're at 54.5% win. So if we win the dice roll, we want to take second. That is what we need to know about this. And I guess when you're looking at this data also, generally speaking, not necessarily for Boa, but generally speaking, if you see that the second turn win rate for Doffy is higher than the turn 1 win rate, it's usually because of the 10 cost. The 10 cost being able to take something out important on the board on curve. That is usually the case. In Boa, this is actually not the case, okay? Let's jump into some of our pieces here. All right, so before we talk about our deck, I just want to talk about what our general strategy into this matchup is. And it'll make a lot more sense once we go through what Boa is trying to do here. But generally what we want to do is we want to rely heavily with our defensive cards. We want to make sure when we're in those upper Don levels, like later turns 4 onwards, we have the defense that we need. And Baby 5, Viola, Bullet String, these 3 cards are amazing in defense. Bullet String, this is the main reason why we need Bullet String in our deck, is to go up against things like Boa. Bullet String makes you +2 for the turn, and an additional +2 on the battle that you use it on. So it is going to make anything really big very quickly. If you need to save your bodies, use Bullet String on that, but primarily, you're going to be using Bullet String on your leader here. Bullet String will then turn this into a 7,000 power leader until the end of your opponent's turn. And that means if they've got a wide board of 5k bodies that start attacking, well, now they need to put 2 Don on each in order to just hit. And you just can discard a small 1k body and get out of it quite easily. So this will save you very, very strong card. Viola is not only a blocker, but she also can get the Bullet String back. And because we're only running 2 in the deck, the reason I'm only running 2 in the deck is we don't need it in a lot of matchups, and we can easily get it back with the Viola. This is why Viola is so important. We have basically 5 Bullet Strings in the deck here. And Baby 5 is just really good defensively because, you know, you redirect, so you stopped attack, and you gain a life when she's KO'd. So that's basically 2 attack stops. So we're trying to stop this go wide strategy against us. Now, our part of our strategy for winning, we want to utilize the 8 cost a little bit more than the 10 cost in this matchup, because 8 cost allows us to get 2 bodies out, and getting 2 bodies out, we can now attack back into their board. We need to take out their board. And yes, against Boa, this does hurt because we do lose a life if we take out one of their 5k Kuja or Warlord. I think it's both. I can't remember if it's both. Definitely Kujas. If you take them out, you do lose a life. So the 10 cost is going to be helpful. It can target a body to kill on sight. But we can also use this one to push for game. And certainly the turn before we want to end the game, we use this card. We rest down a bunch of bodies, and all of a sudden they don't have 3 bodies they can attack with next turn. Then you can simply get out of their next, up to 3 attacks they can do. 1 baby 5 will stop 2 of those attacks. So between this and this, then you just need one other thing to stop that last attack. And that might be a Nora Nora beam. So really easy to set up that win con for us to rest everything down and then set up a big body to then just take out the game. That is sort of how we're doing it, but there's a little bit more nuance to it than that. So let's go through the deck that we have. Now, if you have seen what this deck is all about, then you might not need to go through this, but I'll try not to spend too long. There might be some little pearls in there, so stick around if you're into that. All right, so this is the deck as a whole, and I have since taken Portia out, and I do mention this in all my videos. However, if you have Portia in your deck, this is a great deck to use it, because Portia, like the 8 cost, gets another body out. And if you're able to get the Portia out into, say, Sugar, you can't do Sugar on curve from that point there. But what you can do is the following turn the Sugar into a Virgo, and all of a sudden you've established another really strong body. You've got Portia and a strong body, and then you're going into, say, a 8 cost and another strong body. You've got 4 bodies on the field which can all attack. So, doing some really strong stuff in this deck, and Nora Nora beams go far. So she is definitely one, if you are planning on playing Portia, try her out in this deck. Try her out against the Boa. So let's have a look. I do like to break the deck into components because we need to think about our Doffy doing 3 different things here. One of them is our Don management system, because it is a purple deck, we are ramping. And we're also negging a lot through our leader effect and our character effect. So our Don management is one system we need to think about. Our general strategies using the on KOs is another thing we need to think about, is what we're doing to the opponent's board versus what we're doing to our board. And the last thing we really need to think about is how we're working defensively here. So the last one was offensively, we need to think defensively too. So they're sort of the 3 main things in our deck. Let's go through what we have here. So first up, ramp on play, we have 3 cards for ramp. These 3 here all gain an active Don. Active Don are really important. In the matchup, you don't tend to get the KOs, so the Sugar doesn't play as vital a role in this deck as other decks, but needless to say, you can still use the effect. So I will always prefer a Sugar ramp over a Baby 5 ramp. However, Monet is the bigger winner in this deck because they do have a couple of 5 cost 6,000 power bodies, which Monet can hit into without any Don commitment. Let's talk about ramping on opponent's turn, and this is a really important concept for the deck. And in this matchup in particular, the Don management is the most important thing that you need to consider to actually win this match. This is the most crucial part of this particular part of the game. So, ramping on opponent's turn, we have Dellinger. Dellinger, when he gets KO'd, he does gain a rested Don. Usually to KO Dellinger though, you need to neg 1 from here to gain 1 from here. So it's a net 0 when using the leader effect. Monet is a net 1 rested Don because you neg 1 here, you gain 2 rested here. That's the +1. Sugar, let's talk about Sugar in a sec. Treble here is really good because when you neg 1, you gain 1 rested. And although this becomes a 0 effect, the negging you're not really redirecting into treble, you're redirecting into something else. So if treble's on the field, you neg here, treble's ability activates, you're now at 0, you send it into Dellinger, now you're at +1. So having these two on the field does allow that +1. I also need to say Dellinger is such a beast because what he does is when he is on the field, to manage your Don, if you are on 8 and you want to go to 10, Dellinger is a perfect thing to redirect into because Dellinger is going to maintain your board at 8 Don. Neg 1, game 1. This is really important. You neg and redirect into sugar, you're losing. You neg into any of these to redirect, you are losing Don if they're not going in to say a Dellinger or a Monet. That's as simple as that. Keep that in mind. This is very, very important. Doffy is really good because he's also that static effect of gaining Don each turn, sort of like treble. So Doffy on the field, you need to have an active Don. Once your opponent attacks, you can rest that active to gain an active. So effectively gaining a rested Don, but you have to have an active to do that. So these are our ramp cards. Sugar is in there for a different reason. It's not as important in this matchup, but what you can do is sugar, if you redirect into sugar and then you bring out one of your ramp cards off the sugar effect, then you gain an active if you use one of these ramp on play cards. This means that you can gain an active Don from this effect on your opponent's turn. So if you have one Don up on your opponent's turn, they're not expecting a bullet string, they're not expecting a Nora beam. You can get them by surprise by KOing this, bringing out Monet, ramping one active, and then all of a sudden, bullet string comes down and you've just wrecked their turn. Really good counterplay here. So this is an important concept, and I might talk about this one now because I've said this before. If you haven't watched through all of my other videos, I like to bury gems in it. And this gem is not only very important for the Boa matchup, this gem is important for the mirror match, right? How to get the most out of this Don Coyote Doflamingo. This 8 cost is a very important one. As I said, this one is winning you the game in this match because it's able to bring out an extra body. But at any given moment, we want to be able to bust out this 10 cost. And when we use the effect here, we neg down 1 Don. So we have 8, we neg 1, we become 7. And if we're bringing out, say, a Dellinger, we're not ramping. We bring out a Dellinger, we're at 7, we redirect into Dellinger, we maintain 7. We're at a loss. We're at a loss here. So we need to think about this whole maintaining Don system deal, and this is where it comes in. So when you are selecting the extra character that Doffy brings out, this 8 cost, you need to consider what your board is, and what you're considering most is what your Don level is at. If you have a Dellinger on the field, it means you're able to maintain. So if I redirect on that next turn, and you want to kind of redirect most of your turns. If you can redirect most of your turns, you're not taking the hits. You're basically converting your Don into value. So really strong if you can do it. If you redirect into the Dellinger, then you're at a loss. So the only way a redirect into Dellinger would be a good idea is if you are on 9 Don and then play out this Doffy, because the Doffy brings you back down to 8, you maintain the 8 by redirecting into Dellinger. If you're at 9 and a Dellinger, this works out great. If you're at 9 and you don't have a Dellinger, you don't have a Monet on the field, then you can't really redirect because you lose 1, you go down to 8. Then if you redirect into, say, this Sugar, you're going down to 7, you can't play this out. So if you're on 9 and you don't have a Dellinger, you need to think about this. The other thing here that's really cool is if you are on 8, what you can do is think about, and this is a common thing, you often on 8 playing this out, you need to think about a ramp, bringing out a ramp alongside it. So Monet, Sugar, Baby 5, or the Rosinante. If you can bring out one of these, then you'll be fine, because what happens is if you've got one up at the end of your turn, this is why Rosinante is fine. If you've got one up at the end of your turn, you can then use this effect to then ramp up one. So even if you've got 8 and you go into your next turn on 7 with the Rosie restands 2 because you're at 7, you can then use one of those restanded to bring you back to 8. So next turn, you're going into 10. The Rosie is only going to work if you've got the Dallinger on the field to hit into. If you've got Monet on the field, Monet is fine, but you don't actually want to redirect into Monet until after the 10 cost comes down. Because you want to manage getting back up to 10, Monet is the best target for that to happen. So I hope that made a little bit of sense with this 8 cost. The 8 cost, the way you play it, is super, super important. Think about this one here. And sorry, I didn't really talk about the scenario. If you're 8, you go down to 7 to bring out, say, Monet. She ramps up to 8 there with 1 active. Then on your opponent's turn, you can gain 1 more, which is 9. And then you can freely redirect into a sugar to go back down to 8. Hope that makes sense. So if your targets that you want to redirect into don't net you Don, ramp you Don on an opponent's turn, then you want to have a combo like this if you're on 8. If they do ramp you Don, then you can do other things like a Rosie. Very important, but that small little detail is the thing that is going to win you matches, because if you get that wrong, you're not going to have the right amount of Don to then be able to attack into your opponent's board. All right, let's quickly talk about our effects in general. We've got on KO Dallinger, he gets you that Don, but he also lets you search. Viola, you neg a Don and you can get your events back. Really strong for this matchup. She is a key card for this matchup. Monet is awesome because she gets you draw and she also ramps you. Got Sugar. You can usually hide things behind Sugar. In this match, it doesn't really matter so much. But she can, effectively cheat out an extra Don because a 4 cost into a 5 cost is always handy. Baby 5, her on KO is great because on KO we get an extra life. And this is a really strong card for this match in particular. These matches which go wide on us, Baby 5 is going to be handy. And then in terms of negging Don, cards that we lose Don on KO or on use, we've got Viola here, loses us a Don. Baby 5 loses us a Don. Noro Beam Sword loses a Don, and Bullet String loses a Don. So as I just mentioned in the last match, if you are on, say, about to use the Doffy effect, if you're using these effects as well, they're going to neg you down. So you need to have the same considerations as you do with the 8 costs as you do with these -1 Don cards. All right, in our deck, we got a bunch of beaters. Beaters are important in this matchup because we do need to hit into their board. Generally speaking, our objective is going to be to starve out their hand by attacking their board, and we're going to need beaters to do that. And I know that sounds very odd that we want to attack their board, but this is something we want to do, and it's a fun one for our deck, right? I'm going to get into that in just a sec. So beaters, Virgo is great. He negs -2000 when you neg a Don. Should put him in the last category too, because he also negs Don. We have this Doffy and this Doffy. These are both strong ones. You're primarily going to need this one to take down their big boa. Their big boa is going to be a little bit harder to attack, but if you've got these two on the board, it's not a trouble. This one is generally going to hit into their other ones, like their 6 costs. You might use it also for their boa, just as extra pressure. And this one's just generally good into their 5k, 6k bodies. All right, we also have Resters in this deck. Resters are okay. You're probably not going to use the Sunji. They do have the 4-cost boa blocker, and the 4-cost boa blocker is a problem because what they're going to want to do is use that blocker to take a hit so you lose a life. if you use the Usohachi, you're on 8-on, use the Usohachi, rest that down, then you can attack through, and that isn't a problem anymore. So Usohachi can be a great card. If you're going to discard a 2k in this matchup, make sure it's treble over Usohachi. And this one is another really good one. You're primarily going to use this one in defense, not offense. There's not a lot that you need to worry about in their deck other than them taking you out. So they're high cost characters. I mean, the only character that you need a sort of rest to work around is that 4-cost blocker, and you can do that with Usohachi. So you're more going to use this against their bigger bodies when they're attacking, say, a Boa. They're probably going to attack the Boa first, so you unfortunately won't be able to rest it. But then they might have a Kuma on the board, and let's just rest that Kuma down so we don't get KO'd this turn. Sanji, just use him as a 1k generally in this match. Alright, events. Bullet String is key for this. It is, as I mentioned earlier, it is going to make us survive a turn by itself. Really, Noro Beam Sword is still useful. It is the second to Bullet String. Definitely can use the Rosie effect to discard one of these kind of freely in this match if you're low on hand. And Divine Departure is always good because it can get rid of a card that we don't want in our hand to become a 3k and help us survive. So really strong card there too. All right, so let's talk about the Boa and what their strategy sort of is, what their key cards are going to be here. So I just mentioned their big Boa here. This Boa is a very strong card. It is basically that original Big Mom. They net a life, you lose a life, and they establish a strong card on the board. So what they kind of want to do is they will get this down at some point in the game to heal a bit. They'll probably get the Kuma down at some stage to heal a bit. They are healing and establishing big bodies, but they're also going to have a bunch of these 5k bodies on the field as well. So essentially what they want to try and do is get 3 of these on the field, these 2 here, and just keep attacking. The other thing that they've got going for them is if you attack and kill one of these, you lose a life, and then they just set up this situation where, you know, you're so pressured on your life that you can't defend. This is how they sort of want to take most decks down. In terms of key cards, I did mention this blocker. This blocker is going to lose you a life when it blocks, so be careful of that. Be very careful of this blocker. This one here is going to KO a card. I think it's the only KO that they have in their deck. Generally speaking, they don't run Red Rock or Gravity Blade, but I have seen one that has run Gravity Blade, so do be careful. Virgo is going to be protection against this. Virgo is not absolutely necessary to get out early, but I guess the earlier he's out, the less likely you are to lose a character. And you don't want to lose characters freely in this match. You do not want to lose characters. You need to be able to hit back. Be aware of this card, You'll Frighten Me, because it does stop one of your cards from attacking. So if you're going for game, this card may stop that plan. The other one, which is very, very important in this match. If it wasn't for Boa being half blue, you would take all of your life from the get-go. You would take all of it freely. Going down to 0 is not a problem for us in this matchup. In fact, the problem is having a high card hand just is asking for Pudding to come down and ruin us. So what we're trying to do in this match is we're trying to balance basically our hand size with our life. If our hand size is low, we can take a life. If our hand size is too high, defend it from your hand. That way you can then take the next one, right? This is how we need to play this matchup. The reason why we don't mind taking life is if we go down to 0. See, here's the flaw in Boa's plan. If we go down to 0, then they can't take our life, right? Genius. I know, right? Genius. If we have no life, they can't take it, then we can freely hit their board. Sounds crazy, but with Doffy, it's fine because we can redirect. This is the difference. We can redirect, we can Nora beam, we can block, and we can baby 5 and get that life back on their turn to then take the hit. This is the crazy thing with our deck, is we can actually do this really, really, really well. So let's have a look. Going first, this is our curve. Generally, we want to have Dellinger out first. He is great because turn 2, we can throw Don on and attack in, putting that extra pressure down. If they happen to hit into the Dellinger, you know, we ramp, we find. Generally, people won't hit into this, but, you know, it's there and it can apply pressure, so maybe they will. And they're going to try and get like a searcher down early, which can probably just take out this for no Don commitment, so they might actually do that. We don't find Dellinger, Sugar's our next best option, and then turn 2, you're using Sugar effect. If you do have a Sugar on turn 2, I mean, I'm not sure what's actually better on turn 2, playing the Sugar or throwing 3 Don on this, but, you know, either or is going to be good. I think probably putting 3 Don on this is going to be better, mostly because Sugar finds us a card which goes into our hand, which just adds to their benefit. Now, I do want to remind you all that this is our worst curve in this matchup. If you took note of that graphic at the start of the data and, you know, win rates, we are losing generally going first and winning going second. That's what the data is suggesting. My experience is that we are okay either going first or second. Easier to go second. Okay, so this is, don't feel like, you know, you get first and you're going to lose. That's not the case. We can win this, no worries. So we do this trick here. Turn 3, let's get the Virgo down, prevent that ability of Rayleigh coming down and taking something out. At this stage, there's nothing really for them to take out, but if you do something else like a, I mean, you could play a Sugar here also, wouldn't be bad, because Sugar, if it gets taken out by Rayleigh, we just turn it into something, but generally, that would be the only thing I would play over a Virgo is a Sugar. Turn 4, we go for a Monet. This is a great card. Let's just get it down. We can ramp up so then we can hit the 8 on the next turn. All we need to see is one ramp in this going first curve, and then we can get the stuff we need. And now I did talk about the Doffy a lot in this video. So if you missed that, go back and have a look at, you know, what our ramp management looks like, because I talk about Doffy a lot in that. That's out in the index section, okay? So this is Doffy. Doffy comes down on turn 5, get something else out. Might be a Sugar. You might pair it with a Sugar. It really depends on what your board state is, what you've got left on the board, and you want to maintain yourself so you can get to this 10 Don next turn. Not necessarily using the Doffy. I feel as though if you don't have a great option, play the Doffy. If you've got 2 Doffys, feel free to play a Doffy. You generally want to reserve this Doffy for later as a defensive card setting up for the win. We do have 4 in the deck, or I run 4 in the deck, so I'm not going to be short of this card, and I can play it more freely and just use it as a big beater to hit into their Boa when that comes down. That's sort of the curve that we're going for here. Our general strategy is get to low life, attack into their board. They're going to bump up their life. So attacking into their life, we're not going to be able to pressure their life. We need to pressure their board, pressure their hand, and set ourselves up into a position where we can just clean sweep them with a wide board ourselves. So we need to protect our board, take our life. We need to maintain our hand size, maintain our Don, so we're always able to bust this out and just build along the way. So that is sort of our general strategy with this curve here. So just so you understand what they're doing on their curve, if we're going first, they're going second, this is what their curve looks like to counter that. They're usually playing a searcher on turn 1, and it's either going to be probably one of these 2. They're just getting one of these low-cost characters down, doing a search, which is fine. They get Sengoku down. Sengoku can attack into our Dellinger. Turn 2, 4 Don, they play the Boa Hancock. why wouldn't they play the Boa? Because the Boa is a perfect thing for this curve. It allows them to place a Don onto their leader, so then the leader can take effect and they can use this Boa, block something out, and we lose a life. Really strong. Whether they block on that turn or not, I'm not sure. You always want to hit low while this is on the field, because you want to make sure, not like 5 low, you might do 6. 5 or 6 is fine. You want to make sure they're not getting value out of this. If you're hitting 10 and they block a 10 with this Boa and you lose a life, you've wasted Don and you've lost a life from it, and they've defended a life. They are winning. Do not hit high into this. So on turn 3, they're going to want to play one of these two out. I think ideally for them, they want to play the Kuma out before they play out the Gorgon Sisters. You get the Kuma out, then you get the Gorgon Sisters out. You can then use the Gorgon Sisters on the next turn, the effect, to then gain, Don on all of their cards, including this one. So it's going to be better, slightly better for them to play this first, but really it doesn't matter which order they get in here. Now, the other thing I haven't mentioned about Boa, the most important thing actually about Boa, is it's not really about the curve for them. And the reason being is so many of their cards, and I didn't mention this in their key cards, so many of their cards play trigger. So they're going to be playing things out on your turn as you're attacking into them. They want to take hits because, half to 3/4 of their life is going to be triggered out and playing something onto the board. You want to, there's nothing you can really do about it. They're going to trigger it out. We don't have any banish in our deck, so they're going to trigger stuff out. It's just the nature of it. So be aware when you are attacking in, if you're likely to get KO'd by their current board state, or you can only defend their current board state. If you take a life, it could be a card which they play out, and then you're in trouble. So be aware of that. Be aware of that. So they'll have more than this as a board. When this comes down, they're not going to have just this and this. They're probably going to have blocked one. They're probably going to have a Kuma down. They're probably going to have 2 of their other Amazon Lily cards on the field. All right, they're turn 5. Turn 5, they're really going for this Boa Hancock. At 10 Don, this is perfect. 9 here, and then they place 1 on here so they can protect their board. If you attack their board, well, you lose a life. Lucky for us, we are going to set ourselves up so we have multiple on our board before we attack into it, and that is really going to take them down. So, quick little thing here, this Doffy. I love to use the KO effect of this Doffy. The KO effect of this Doffy is really great. However, if we KO something, they activate this leader ability and we will lose a life. That's okay. What we do is first we attack their field before playing this. We don't use this one first because we need a Negadon. We probably want to use this attack first into one of their characters. Maybe we start with our leader, a 5 at one of their base characters, their 5,000 characters, see if they take it or not. Then if they don't, we go into the leader, we take one of their 5k characters down, we lose a life. We lost a life. Guess what? This is a once per turn effect. So then what we do is we use our Doffy here and we KO something big on their board that they didn't want to lose. Maybe this one here. And we're not losing a life from that one. So now we've cleared 2 off their board, and then we can just attack in more at their board. And if we're attacking at their board at this state, they are not able to take our life. They want to defend it. So then they're using cards from hand to defend their board. This is our sort of strategy into the deck. Deplete their hand on that turn that you're dropping the Doffy. And if you've done that, then you're setting yourself up for the next turn. As long as you've got some Don up or something defensive so you can protect your characters, then you're able to go into your next turn and apply more pressure again. This is how we're winning this match. I'm not going to talk too much about the curve going when they go first. This is our preferred match anyway. I just wanted to briefly talk about this here. If they're going first, when we go second, they can't play down this one here. So really good for us. So they go first. They can't play this one either. What ends up happening is they play Sengoku here. Going second, they need to play these things out again. They can't play this one out until turn 3 now. So this turns this into our favor, that they have to play one of these in turn 3, and then turn 4, they've got these. They're basically delayed a curve. And, turn 5, if they play this Boa, then they can't play one onto their leader. This is why us going second is so powerful, because it just disrupts their game so much. So I'm not going to really talk about our curve. Our curve, we basically, at that stage, we want to try and do what we do with every turn going second. We want to try and ramp twice to get to our 10 cost quicker. If we play it, that's fine. If we don't, that's okay too. We've got extra dom we can use. That's our general strategy when we're going second. I don't think we need to talk too much about that. It's more about how we're managing their board state. So, key concept, let's have a look. The Boa win con. The Boa win con, as I sort of mentioned, this is a typical winning Boa board. They've KO'd something. They've got, maybe not this one, maybe it's one of their other Kuja pirates down that has 5,000 or 6,000 power. They've got this down, they've got this down, they've got this down, and they're activating this effect. They're swinging with everything. They're putting a lot of pressure on you. And I did this exact same scenario with the ace deck. We are fine in go wide situations as well. We do need a little bit more to deal with it, but what we got here is enough. And maybe a bit of counter in hand would also go a long way. But let's talk this through. They start their attacking with a Boa. And usually any deck that we go against, they're going to attack with their high ones first, because they're worried we're going to Nora beam and they lose a lot of value. So they attack with this first. What we do is we block with Viola. And before we allow the KO to go through, we Nora this thing down. This is 2 defended already. And on KO, we get the Nora beam back. Okay, they go to attack with something else. They attack with the Gorgon Sisters. Or they attack with Rayleigh here. No worries, Rayleigh attacks. We use a Nora beam. If they didn't add any Don, well, now we're getting out of that. And if we have a bit of counter in hand, maybe we add a little bit of counter to this. So we've blocked this one out with the +2 from Nora and a bit of counter. And then we rest down. If they've got the blocker on, we rest down a blocker. If they don't, we just rest down something else. Now we have stopped this, and this. They've got 2 left. We have 1 life. I mean, this is easy. We could deal with a 6th character on the board in this position. They throw everything they've got into this. We redirect into baby 5. We gain a life. They attack with this. Okay, no worries. We gain a life. We don't even need to use a second. Sorry, we lose that 2nd life. We don't even need to use the 2nd Nora here. We could get out of this. As I said, we've got an extra attack we could defend at this point. And, if we don't have the counter, then I guess we're just defending the extra attack with in that last instance. The trick with this is we want to try and end. If we can, we use our baby 5 last. She's the last resort. We use that last because we don't want the life, remember. If we get the life, they can just take it out with a Boa. We want to not lose that life. In the game I'm going to show you, I do redirect into the baby 5 and lose a life in this exact way. But the reason is I was a little worried that they might have some sort of weird rush card on me and take me down. So I didn't want to lose to that way, and I knew I could win, without it. So I did lose the baby 5, but generally speaking, baby 5 is a last resort here. You want to take out this one first. Use your Nora beams, get them back with Viola, and set yourself in a situation where this turn you use these 2, next turn you use this one and this one. That's ideal. And maybe you redirect into a Dellinger instead of the baby 5. This is sort of how we can get around their win con. And while we're getting around their win con, we attack the board the next turn because they swing. We attack the board, we reduce the effect that they can have on us, and so then the next turn, just the Noro Noro and the baby 5 can get through while we're still establishing these big 10 cost Doffys or 8 cost and something else characters. This is how we win against the Boa. Their win con is nothing against this deck. So let's jump into a couple of games here. We have a going first and a going second one. I did lose the audio on the going first, so I've got my audio, but we just don't have that background clicking noise, which I kind of like. Anyway, let's jump into that game one. All right, so we've got a ranked game here. We managed to find the Boa. They get to choose out of first and second, and they want to go second in this one. Now, this isn't a bad hand. We do have a searcher, but we want to see this Dellinger. We got a better middle game with this hand, so this is good. Dellinger down and pass it over. Now we do have baby 5 here. We can't use any ramp until the following turn 3, because we're going first. But we can play the sugar down. So an alternative option would be playing 3 Don onto Dellinger and swinging. But because the sugar's there, we're just going to play the sugar instead. 1 onto leader and probably take a life here. Yep. And Boa's life, they're going to trigger, half their life, or maybe 3/4 of their life is going to be a trigger. So just be aware, you attack in life, you're likely to see another body. And this is more important when you're closing out the game and you need to survive a turn. All right, they dropped the Boa. I should mention we got the 10 cost there from our Sugar Searcher. That 10 cost being a good endgame card, not as crucial as some of our other matchups. This is more of a mid-range deck that we're up against, so we take a slightly different approach against it. We want to go a little bit wider than we usually do, and we still wouldn't mind taking that 10 cost because it does a lot of pressure, and if we use the no rest on 3 7 cost or less, that really hinders this deck. All right, so we do the redirect. We have a look here. Monet is great, but this Doffy allows us to go wide with that strategy we just talked about. So we'll take this Doffy. Gives us a good turn 4, I think it's going to be. And we pick up a Monet anyway. We would have done a baby 5 if not, but Monet is a great option. So let's play her down. We'll have a Don up from this. And let's just swing it face here. We'll see if they take life, block it, or they take it, they block it, and we lose a life because they've got 1 Don on their leader. And we're fine with taking life in this. In general, with this deck, we don't mind taking life. The only reason we don't take all of our life at once is the threat of pudding. Pudding is a real threat in this deck. Okay. Now, as I said, pudding is a threat. So we do need we're on 7 right now. 7's not bad, but if we go to 8, 8 could be a bit of a worry. So let's just drop 1 here. This one we could take, it gets us back to 7. Discarding 1 more isn't a bad idea though. The baby 5 comes in handy at the end, but we do have 2, so we'll just get rid of 1 of those. And now our hand's feeling comfortable, they might discard a pudding when they next defend. Okay, 1 on the leader, so just sort of baiting us to attack their board. As I said, I don't mind attacking their board here. Now, we're on 8. We are on 8. So here's the play. We want to get this down. We want to get our Virgo down, but we don't want to be silly about this. We want to get it down through sugar. So if we use sugar, we get the ramp. And then that allows us to ramp also on our opponent's turn with our 8 cost effect. But then we can use that extra Don that we've just gone. We've go from 9 back to 8 by redirecting into the sugar. and Sugar then brings out Virgo. So we're able to get out Virgo and maintain our curve so we can get the 10 cost out. This is really, really important. And they took the life from that low swing with the Doffy there. All right. So here we go. We ramp up one here. We don't really want to lose either of these. We're on 4 life, so we can just take it. They will attack with the leader at the very minimum, so we're still going to get this effect off. And let's just use this one that we've got here. And also just a little bit worried they could do a red rock or something like that, something nasty here. So let's just do the effect now. We managed to do it. The Virgo is now on the board, and the Virgo coming out later is now a counter into them. All right, this is a good card. And okay, so unfortunate there, because the timing was unfortunate. We would have been on 10 if we had have triggered the Noro beam, but how would we know that that was going to come down? I mean, we could have known. Here's a card that they play, but not to worry. So gives us a bit of an awkward turn. The good news is the Boa effect is only once per turn. We can do this in 2 different ways. We can just attack their board, or we can just attack face. And if we just attack face, we might, we've got enough we can defend ourselves with. So having the baby 5, Viola, and a Noro beam in hand, really, really good. Yeah, okay. They've only got 1 card on field that they want to play over too. So if they trigger twice, they're not going to bring both onto the field. So this is really great. And yeah, Doffy is going to take this last life, and then we can threaten a wipeout here. So they might. Ooh, okay. It's sort of indicating to me that we could push for game right now. There's a chance we could push and win, but then they would stomp us if we failed. And the rule of thumb with Doffy is do not overcommit. We don't need to push for the win right now. We are under no pressure at all, so don't do it. It's just working out what we want to do into them, because they do need to lose cards here. What do we need to survive here? We're gonna go for it, because we sort of estimated there what they might have, and based on their reaction for the last attack, they didn't defend it, and they knew a bigger one was coming in. So we kind of had them at that point there. That was a really quick win. Doesn't usually go so quick, but another alternative is if we did hold out 1 more turn here, we could have easily done this, establish a baby 5. We had, 8 Don here, establish a baby 5, brings it to 9 Don. There's 5 left over. We can then put down Viola, and we hold 2 up for an Orono beam. Then that is 1 redirect into baby 5, gives us a redirect and a life. That's 2 points there. We've got a Viola, which is a 3rd point, and we've got a Noro beam, which is a 4th point, and possibly a block, which could be 5. And there's 5 attacks defended with those cards. And, we're doing fine. Then we just need to hit 1 more time into them. And that turn, the next turn, we would have been going in with a 10 cost Doffy. Really just a walk in the park for us. And it sort of goes to show that Boa's weakness here is the amount of non-counter cards that they do run. If you look at their hand right now, 1K encounter. 1K is wild. Anyway, let's jump into game 2 here. All right, we have Doffy Boa. We're going to take second. We get to see this curve here. I think I'm just going to keep this. I think I like this enough. As I said, this is a good one into the match. We've got it going first. We got a turn 2 here as well. This is more than we could ask for. And we can probably find a 10 cost off this anyway. I think I'd prefer the Virgo over the 10 cost if I was to find them in the same search. Okay, so let's go for sugar. And 1 extra into Boa here. Taking that down. And of course they trigger. This is what Boa does. So we do want to take the hit. We do want to also manage our life situation here. So not sure. Depending on how they attack, I might just take both of these hits. If they're just hitting us for 5, I don't know. Maybe I won't. See what they play out. Okay, so they are running the EBO package, which we won't see in Nationals, but that's fine. We can still win. Like, this is an upgraded version. We can still win into this fine. It's the same thing, except they've got this Nummy here, which just has a little bit more punch, being able to take our life and being able to play something extra out. Our theory is still the same. So this one here, let's take this as well. And then they've got another 7 coming at us. And let's redirect this one in here. So we get that one. I double click, so I didn't get the ramp there. That hurts. That hurts. Yeah, we didn't get the ramp. All right. Yeah, we didn't. We definitely didn't. So we won't get this on curve just because of a misclick, but it's okay. It is okay. I'm okay with this. We are going to get this one down now, just so this doesn't happen again. And I'll attack at face, just trying to take away this. They usually do like to take these because they take a life and they trigger out a body that's extra pressure onto us. The sooner they do that, the better. So they're more likely, Boa is more likely to take life earlier than other decks, which is great in general. Allows us to use the pressure later. Okay, good solid card, this one. And then we're going to have 3 giant attacks coming into us. I think I'll switch this one out into... I might go in for... I'll go in for Monet, because at least we can attack with Monet. And then we'll use a Doffy into Baby 5 probably for the next turn. That, or I might do Doffy into Sugar and then block into Sugar to bring out Baby 5. That might be a better cause. And then next turn, they might drop the big one. So I think the next turn, if we hold 2 up, maybe we hold 2 up for this. And then if we are using this into Baby 5, we'll get that extra Don, so we can do that sneaky little trick into them. So let's just take this stuff here. They don't have enough for pudding right now. We don't really have much in defense, which is the bad part. All right, so we can do 1, 2. No, what we do is we redirect. We talked about this, didn't we? We talked about this. All right, so we're on 8. We can do Doffy, not that Doffy. We can do this Doffy. We play this one down. I'm going to bring out Sugar. Leaves us 1 up, and then this can ramp. We use this effect, and we bring out a baby 5. This is great. We have then the extra one, which we can use our bullet string and just protect everything. So let's see if we can take out something here. I'm going to do this at face. I think actually, no, I'm going to do it. Does it come out rested? No, it doesn't come out rested. So I'm going to attack in at this one here, hoping that they block. They won't block. I can attack in at this and not lose a life though. Okay, we lose that life. This is still okay. Still okay here. We're going to attack in. I'm going to attack a face 1. See if we can take 1. Okay, that was not good for us. This was not good for us. We don't want to lose anything here. I'm just going to do 7 at face. The good thing is the little trick we've got up our sleeve, which they don't realize here. They don't want to block because they want to keep it on board. They might not pudding because they want to attack with everything. And if that triggered down, I think they were less likely to, but we still could encounter a pudding here. But we have sort of baited this situation. We've got no life. We're looking very desperate. We can redirect 1 attack. Then they just need one of these 3 to go through. And then we got nothing, right? So they're planning out their Don to do this attack, to go for game on turn 5, and unless they pudding us, we're going to be fine here. Okay, so we use this effect as we can. We're going to cancel that and just use 1 here. No blocker. Just use 1. We get out of that one, that's fine. Going for a 6 now. Okay, so they're not going for it. They're going for this play instead. So let's just use treble here. No blocker, treble. Okay, no, they're going defensive. Interesting. Okay, so we're going to redirect. I mean, even though this isn't bad, we're going to redirect into the sugar like we planned. No blocker, resolve, and we're going to play out baby 5 now. This is setting us up for next turn on their turn, so we have that extra defense, extra layer defense here. Big hit. That was a big hit. They did drop the pudding on us. We did leave ourselves open for that. Okay, so this one here, we didn't use any. No, we haven't used any. This is okay. We were going to drop the 10 cost, so that did hurt. We're going to drop the 10 cost, rest down this one, and this one. And then we could freely just attack in, attack in, attack in, attack in. It was going to hurt them hard, and then we would have had the defense with the baby 5. That pudding just ruined us. But I left myself open for it. So we got no life. Let's deal with this board. I'm going to do 2 over into this. They play something out. Okay, Rayleigh's their last card, which would trigger a KO, but not against our deck. And they find another Marguerite, which can't do anything, so they ditch a Marguerite. If we get rid of this, they're still attacking quite wide on us. We need a Dellinger to find us something good. Or we just hope we top deck something. Baby 5 Viola, baby 5 Viola, baby 5 block 2. Okay. We can do this. We're now just going to attack in. I think we do. So Viola's 3. We leave 1 more. We do this. There's more pressure here. They might take this. If they take this, it doesn't trigger out. We just use one of these. If they use cards from hand, then we're able to attack better in. Okay. So now we switch it up. We're going to do 8 here. We don't neg anything. So they take this, they lose 1 life. They don't want to lose a blocker. Okay. We have to then go for this. All right, and what are we doing? Viola here. End turn. Little bit desperate here. We survive this turn and we're doing really well though. So we don't need to do either of these right now. We can get out of this one, no blocker. Use this one. All right. We do this. I mean, they haven't used any effect yet. So what they want to do is as soon as we baby 5, they play this down. That is their goal here. That is their goal. So we don't want that. We want to redirect here. We don't want to redirect. We want to use our blocker here. They attack with this. We baby 5. They use this effect, and then we 1 out of it. Cancel, cancel, blocker, resolve. No effect because we don't have one in trash. And this is something I do like to do, is try and use a event early, so if they do bullying us, we can still access the event through our Viola. Yeah, so now this is fine. The redirect will save us here. Oh, okay. This is interesting. So they're presenting a splitting between these two now. So they can't use that effect. They can't use the effect, but we can get out of this. We can do 1, 2, 3. We can get out of this. So let's not do either of these either. No blocker. We're going to do this one. This is going to be the next most helpful one. So let's do these two. Now they can't get past this. Baby 5 locks this down. They've used their blockers. Okay, they need to heal. They do need to heal. That is a real thing there. They did need the heal. But unfortunately, they've lost on the spot at that point because they've got no blockers. And I mean, that's just if you overcommit against Doffy, you're going to lose. You don't overcommit. They were trying to go for game, but we just had enough in us there to defend all of that. It's really Doffy's defensive game which sets us up for the win. Anyway, that is us when we're going second. Hope you enjoyed that. And, you know, that's going first, going second. Any questions, do let me know what questions you got. Thank you all very much for looking at this video. The feedback I've gotten so far about these guys have been very, very strong. And, you know, I'm happy to do them for you. I'm learning a lot through this anyway. So I just wanted to share that information that I'm getting from my preparation and share it with you guys. This deck is amazing and I want you all to enjoy it as much as I do. Hope you are. Until next time, look after yourselves and look after your decks.